Hello.
Tenant Washup, Landlord Washup, Landlords 6 months ago, storm, craziness, COVID, don't know what's happening, and where are we now?
We're in a more stable environment, I think. Tenants have been very good at maintaining their commitments, and rent arrears are lower than what we saw a few months back.
So we manage 1,600 properties, probably about 3,000, 4,000 tenants.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot. It's probably number one Northern Beaches. How many of those in the height of COVID were affected? How many properties were affected? Was it like 100 properties, 500 properties?
Look, not that many, to be honest. I think about 30 of our properties had tenants really affected financially by COVID. We were able to offer payment plans to some of those tenants that had landlords that were in a position to do so. And now we're kind of coming out of that because, people have planned and they've started to get work again and started paying rent again, basically.
So it's the wash up now. We're 6 months. So the worst of it, how many?
30.
And that's as bad as it got on the Northern Beaches with tenants because we're managing landlords' assets. So our job was to protect the landlord's asset and to look after the tenants at the same time. I think, but word on the street was the property managers did a pretty good job.
We tried our best.
Because those numbers compared to the industry are pretty low. But what about now? Because everyone's worried now, and you just brought up before we came on air. Everyone's saying there's going to be a cliff. There's going to be job seeker, job keeper, all that stuff not happening. What's happening right now? I'm not going to ask you for your prediction yet, but what's happening right now with tenants? What's the wash up now?
We had a huge influx of tenants that needed to downsize, probably around June, right in the midst of COVID. So we had a lot of movement and a lot of properties coming available. Those tenants since then found either cheaper accommodation or moved out completely, went back home to mum and dad, went back home if they were from another country. So again, like I said before, that we have a lot more stability in the rental market.
Yeah.
Not a lot of properties available at the moment to rent.
Yeah.
So I think once people were able to find employment again and find property that suited them better, maybe that was cheaper.
Yep.
It's helped across the board.
So it's good news. Do you reckon that's just a Northern Beaches thing as well? Or obviously the city I think is very different. The city would definitely be very affected. But so let's not talk about the city because I think it's a bit of carnage with residential there. But for most parts of Sydney, do you reckon everyone was affected the same, more or less, than the beaches?
I think we're a little bit sheltered on the beaches, to be honest, and we do have a lot of opportunities, whether it be access to work a little bit out of Northern Beaches but still live on the Northern Beaches.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of diverse properties. There's still quite a lot of affordable rentals. You can still get a two-bedder for quite cheap on the beaches. I mean, obviously not on waterfront in Manly or somewhere like that, but that also I think helped in that sense.
Okay. Now, future. This is an interesting one. Get your sorcerer's ball out. Do you reckon? So that's the last 6 months. We dealt with a pandemic, something we didn't know about, economy, all that stuff. Where do you reckon the next 3 months going to go for landlords and tenants, CLEO? Because we're coming into Christmas, not far away actually, and we're getting into the new year. How do you reckon that's going to be cash flow wise with tenants and landlords?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. But it's a question that we're all thinking.
We are.
I think a lot of people have sort of got it in the back of their mind, oh shit, if like whatever,
where are we going to go for holidays? We
Yeah.
can't go to Europe now.
yeah,
Let's all go to Byron and Coffs,
yeah. Everyone's going to Byron.
I know.
Byron's bananas.
I wouldn't go to Byron again. Look, for the future, possibly a little bit of movement again.
Yeah.
Before Christmas. I think the lead up to Christmas, it makes sense to stay put and not be vulnerable out there.
Yep.
But between now and say November, I think we might see some people coming out of JobKeeper, JobSeeker that need to basically tighten the straps a little bit and possibly have to find something more affordable.
Yep. And they've already been doing that though. Tenants they've already been shuffling the decks at the moment, getting to stuff that's more affordable already.
Yes.
But actually interesting, you've even had people do upgrades because they're not in the office.
Totally. I've never had the high-end properties rent so quickly. I just rented one in Shipmates, $950 a week after the first open.
Wow.
Whereas normally we'd be thinking,
what was it getting before?
Not same rent, $950.
Okay, so same.
Same.
Yeah.
But just quickly rented. Landlords are moving back in, a lot of them at the moment. We're finding.
Really?
Yeah. So if you've got a big mortgage and you're not able to defer any longer, the possibility is that some of them are actually giving their tenants 90 days notice and are moving back in.
Crazy question. Maybe they're doing better off so they can move back in, because
on the flip
if you're paying a 2.5% interest rate and you couldn't afford to live in it, if you're paying a 5 or 6% interest rate and you couldn't afford to live in the property, now it's an environment of a 2.5% interest rate. It's like, now, let's move in.
Yeah, you're better with numbers than me.
Yeah, nuts. Well, that's a take. Thanks, Legend.
No problem.
Hope we helped you guys out. CLEO is on the coalface, one of the best property managers in the country, dealing with our landlords, dealing with our tenants, nurturing, looking after everyone. So we thought it'd be interesting hearing exactly what's happening, because it's the $1 million question that everyone's asking about. What about rents? What about rents? What about rents? So that's awesome stuff.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya. Cheers.